Good evening, Razorback fans. Welcome to the one, the only Hog Talk podcast, live from the Sterling Soap and Roastery Studios and part of the Believe and Buzz Radio networks, where you can hear us on 106.7 in Central Arkansas. All live shows are presented to you by Arkansas Brewing Company in downtown Ozark. We're also brought to you by Bet Online, which continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use the promo code BLEAV for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online where the game starts. Joining us via the Meadows Lover Hotline, former co-host of the show, moved on to Rivals, The Buzz. Oh, where we go next? You're with Rivals, The Buzz. Drive Time Sports, SBLive Arkansas, you name it, this guy does it. He might as well just be up in the press box with Bubba and Phil when it comes to baseball. Kevin, appreciate you joining us tonight.
You bet, buddy. It's good to be back, and we're 24 short days away from Razorback baseball in Division I. Division II starts next week in state, Harrison State, Southern Arkansas. UALR is looking to have a good season, but I know we're here to talk about the Hogs, and it's looking to be a good season again.
Well, before we get into the Hogs, you start now. Let's talk about your new kind of venture this season, talking about Little Rock. You're getting to really do some more coverage on Little Rock. Kind of being a baseball guy, living in Central Arkansas. How big of a deal is that for you, being able to, be more a part of the Little Rock program?
It was one thing that when all this started 6 years ago now, baseball wasn't getting the coverage that it used to on a statewide level. And it started out with high school. So let's go shine a light on high school. Well, that's taken place. Arkansas baseball was always going to be there, but it's some of the other schools that need attention. Little Rock has gone up and beat Arkansas twice. In Fayetteville in the midweek. Yeah, they've split. Yeah, Arkansas beat them 21-5, but that second night was 11-4 in terms of the Trojans. So I got with Coach Curry, and I'm going to have a lot of access to those guys because they got 19 in-state guys now. Jackson Wells was the Division I leader in all of Division I in earned run average last year. Second was a guy named Paul Skeens from LSU. So Jackson Wells is from Rogers. He went to UA Rich Mountain out of high school. Junior college route. Now, Lance Spigner, who was at Rich Mountain, recruited Jackson, is an assistant coach at UCA. So those guys are growing in the game, and that's what it's about. So I'll get to report on a lot of things that UALR is doing and highlight those kids and highlight the program a little bit more and get to shine a light on those guys.
And moving on to the Razorbacks, finished in 43-18 last year. Of course, brutal loss to TCU. 32-6 at home, and that's what was the crazy thing. They went 32-6 at home and just, for whatever reason, just could not get past TCU. A hot team at the right time. Baseball better than anybody. That happens. That's baseball. It's hard to hear that excuse when it comes to Arkansas losing yet another postseason series.
Yeah, and if you look back – the year prior, where Arkansas flamed out at the end of the year, lost the last series, they were projected to host, and just fell flat on their face. Didn't win the West, which was the first time they haven't done it, in a while, or been right there in contention. So, what do you expect? They get a 2 seed, they get to go to Oklahoma State, who was rolling at that time. There was a lot of talk around that game. They go to Oklahoma State, win that region. Go to North Carolina, win that super regional, and end up finishing third, losing to Ole Miss, who ended up winning the national title, 2 years ago. So getting hot at the right time matters. It's, we've seen teams that'll win 50 games. Oregon State used to be notorious for it. They'd go 56-3 and then lose in the super regional. So that's why baseball is not a one-game take all. It's, you got to show your depth and show how good you are over the course of 11 games. And when I say 11 games, that's roughly about how long it takes in a postseason. It's the longest postseason of the three major sports. It's going through the field of 64, 6 games. Going through a regional, you go 3-0, great. You got to go 2-0 in the Super Regional. You're up to 5 games now, and then you're looking at going 4-0, 5-0 within your going 3-0 in your pool at the College World Series. You're up to 8, and you got to win 2 more. So you can go a perfect 10-0, but it's just hard to do in this game with so much parity, and the transfer portal has really added to that over the past 3 years.
Could you imagine Arkansas or any team in the SEC running through an SEC conference, but yet they only get to use their starting quarterback 1 game a month?
Yeah, 1 game a month.
I mean, that's what it's so difficult when you talk about. Look at even what Kevin Kopp's, the anomaly that he did, run out of gas, and you didn't have anybody to back him up. I mean, it's just people, I think they love the sport of baseball. It's something, especially now with how football and basketball is going. They're thriving for baseball, but I don't think sometimes they understand just how much of a pitching staff you have to make it all the way to Omaha and win, because it's not like you get lucky in March Madness and you win 2 games and you're in the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8. You got to beat these teams, and then you got to beat them again.
Yeah.
You got to beat somebody 2 out of 3 to even get to Omaha.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing.
Yeah. And I've looked and, crunched the numbers. And for me, you need a minimum of 10 guys that you can really rely on, that you could not really worry about and throw out there. Think of when was the last time Arkansas had anywhere close to that on a pitching staff. And the last 2 years, there's been talk of, okay, this is going to be the deepest staff that they've had. On paper, talent-wise, yeah, every year it has been, but you lose a Paulette, you lose a Jackson Wiggins before the season even starts, and it sets you behind the 8 ball and gets you to scrambling a little bit. It leaves you with a JUCO transfer in Hunter Holland, who ended up being the ace of the staff last year. You ended up being the Friday night guy. Hagen Smith was used as a Swiss Army knife early in the season. He would be on the back end of Hunter Holland. So it's tough that Coach Van Horn had to use his 2 best pitchers right in game 1. So in a 3-game set, kind of had to piece it together. Gage Wood is a guy that he had a good year last year. I think he could have been better, and he knows he could have been better. Had some command issues, but he's a guy that I think isn't being talked about enough right now, because there's so much focus on the new guys. There's so much focus on the transfers with Mason Molina, Hunter Dietz, Gabe Gakel. A lot of those guys are getting, talked about quite a bit. So it is a deep pitching staff that is proven. They're experienced now. So now you got to go out and do it, and that's the toughest part.
Something I wanted to ask, and just to compare it to football, say KJ Jefferson goes down, and now you got to bring in Jacoby to run with the ones.
Right.
Get a guy go down in your starting rotation. How do you elevate? How does that work out in practice? Now this guy's getting more, throws more. I mean, what goes into developing that pitcher who now has to step up? Might be a reliever. Now you got to move him up to a starter. What goes into that?
So first of all, it starts with the mindset, and you saw it with Brady Tigert last year after he got hurt. They wanted to bring him back as a starter because that's how Coach Hobbs saw his future panning out. That's how he's going to get drafted, and that's how he's going to make money as a starter. He has a starter's profile. He can do it. Can he last 75 to 95 pitches? He did. Santa Clara game, went out through 99. So that was his last start of the year in the regional, where he got to go out there and show that he could do it. So it starts with the mindset right away. Okay, when you're going to pitch. You don't have to be in the bullpen to where you get hot, get cold, get hot, get cold. You have a routine. And with pitchers, that is a huge thing. They're superstitious by nature. Baseball players are a little crazy, and especially pitchers. They have a routine that they go through. They have the work ethic. They have the workout that they have, and it's detailed every day of what they do. They have their rest days. They have their light throw days. They have their pin days. They have different days that they want to work on different pitches. So having that routine is really big, especially for a starter. Now, can their body handle it? Can you get somebody that can go out there and go 4 or 5 innings? Can they get through the lineup twice? That's what they want them to do at a minimum. Get through the lineup twice without being scathed too much. So a quality start is 6 innings, 3 earned runs or less given up. That's a quality start. So if you can get to that, and that's kind of the Blaine Knight line, he got to 7 innings, giving up 1 or 2 runs, turned over the bullpen. because you can go back in on the bullpen, go 1-1 or 7-2. It takes the workload off of your bullpen at the end of the week. So mindset being one, routine being two, and then did they have the physical ability to go in and do it? And that's what they have to look at and have those guys ready for. And right now you're looking at some young guys that would be able to do it. Ben Bybee coming in his second year, got a lot of work last year. Parker Coyle, sophomore lefty out of Oklahoma. Those are a couple of guys that will be in line, if Hagan, Brady, or Molina go down to where they have to use a fourth or fifth starter.
And when it comes to, you said the mindset, this is something with technology getting, we talk about, pitch and rotation and speed. What is that? The speed.
Spin
rate.
Yeah.
But also what goes into now with the technology. Guys on the other side, other teams are picking up on your tendencies. They're seeing what the analytics of what you're going to do in a 3-2 count or a 2-0 count. How much of that now with the advancement goes into pitchers having to really adjust and play like a tic-tac-toe type game of, well, they think I'm going to throw this on a 3-2, but I'm going to try to catch them off guard.
Yeah, that's where scouting reports play a big difference. And we'll look at it from the offensive side for just a second. And I brought this up the other day. I forgot who I was talking to. But every time a new pitcher comes in, the camera's always panning to Nate Thompson talking to his on-deck batter, the guy that's up at bat currently, and the next two guys in the hole. This is who you can face. Okay, this is tendency against righties, first pitch, second pitch, put-away pitch. If he gets behind, what's he going to go to? All of that comes into play, and they have everything ready for that. They got percentages laid out on every pitcher that they're going to face. That's the homework. That's the prep work that goes into it. So now, from a pitcher's perspective, okay, this guy's a first ball fastball hitter. He's going to jump on it. So maybe we pitch him backward. Maybe we go off, slow away, hard in. They have that scouting report on everybody. So having a pitcher, a catcher, and a pitching coach all on the same mindset, all on the same wavelength is really big. That's why it was really huge with Grant Cook, Casey Opitz, those guys where they could be the on-field quarterback. And that's why I'll always say that the catcher's he's the quarterback. He's calling out the defense, the defensive alignment, bunt defenses. He's calling pitches. He is the eyes and ears and brain of the pitching coach out there because he gets to see certain tendencies that are very intricate of a batter of, okay, if they make a slight adjustment one way or the other, what can we do? That's when sometimes the catcher calls time a couple of times. Maybe he saw something the second time on a pitch. They go out there, talk to the pitcher, get things straight. That's the game within the game, the chess match that you see going on that some people are like, God, will they come on and throw the ball already? That's the certain game within a game that you see. I appreciate it because I lived it and I got to see it, and it's some of the things that at the end of the night you look back on the win and be like, that's a big moment, but it was really overlooked. But
I mean, the difference between throwing it too high, too low, catching it at the right spot, that could be a game winner. Difference in the game. But moving on to that, catcher being important. Who is the go-to guy behind the plate this year? Talk about the catching, the rotation, who we might see behind the plate, and then we'll start moving around, to infield, outfield.
They got a good problem this year. They got 4 catchers. That's something that Coach Van Horn and Coach Wernes, who works with the catchers, that they've never had before. You got 2 guys that are returning, and Parker Rowland and Hudson Polk. Parker Rowland's one of the best hitters on the team during the fall, which he didn't hit very well last year, but he was the best defensive catcher down the stretch as far as blocking, receiving, and throwing out runners. So you had a guy returning that has SEC experience, and he's an older guy, built well, 6'3", 215. He can handle an SEC schedule. So he can go out and catch 3 games. That's no problem. Polk, he was kind of the backup towards the end of the year. He kind of came in from Oklahoma, not a big body of work. Was okay, but couldn't hit. So if you have a catcher that can hit, Michael Turner did it a few years ago, that's a plus. You want a guy that can go in and hit, that's going to be a plus in the SEC. Then you got transfer Hudson White, who was all Big 12 freshman, All-American at Texas Tech. Offensive catcher, not as good on the defensive side of the ball. In the fall, he got better defensively. That's what you got to do to catch this Arkansas staff. And the wild card is Ryder Helfrich. He's one of 3 freshmen that will play a lot And when I say a lot, I mean this is the future. That's what Dave Van Horn has said on press conferences, talking to the media. Ryder Helfrich is the future. He's a top 50 pick or top 50 rated player coming out of this 2022 class or 2023. And Ryder Helfrich is a MLB type catcher. 6'1", 205, built well, can hit for power, and he could throw runners out. So now it's developing an SEC staff and being able to catch those guys day in, day out. So early on, you may see 4 games in a row, 4 different catchers. That may happen. I don't think it will, but they can bring Helfrich along at a good pace, and you can mix in, give guys a break, get Hudson White over to first base. That's a big thing.
Yeah, and then moving on to your first base, infield. Who are we looking at? How deep are we in the infield? Is it going to be another one of those where you can trust these guys to really turn a double play? Your first baseman, what we're looking on that?
Yeah, I think you got a returning piece in Peyton Stovall. He came back from labrum surgery, and he's going to be 100% at second base. Shortstop's Wahiva Aloy from Sacramento State. He's going to be a sophomore, outstanding hitter, led the team in home runs in the fall. Defense has to come along. He's not going to be a Jalen Battles or a Robert Moore over there right now, but he's getting there. So getting that speed, getting this game speed down in the SEC is going to be big for him. Peyton Holt, I think, will be your third baseman. He hit 392 and 74 at bats last year, 88 plate appearances, had a few home runs, 6 stolen bases in limited time. Really big on Peyton Holt. He's a guy that will start and will do big things. He is a very, very high baseball IQ guy. And then I think Jack Wagner is going to be your guy over at first base. Hit 15 home runs last year for Tarleton State. Older guy, rough, works hard, work ethic's really good. So it's a really good, solid infield. And Jason Jones can play third. He can play first, play outfield. Really high bat coming out 2 years ago. This would be his second year. He was a top 25 rated guy on perfect game. So is the defense there? Can he hit for average? If you can hit for average, you can hit in this lineup. We already know we can hit for power. He hit one off in the first game against TCU last year in the loss in Arlington. So I think Jones, Ben McLaughlin looked to be your DH right now. He was the hottest hitter on the team down the stretch. So it's deep. They got about 12 guys, and especially on the infield. Jared Sprague-Lott is a transfer from Richmond. He's kind of the Swiss Army now, second, short, third. So you can move those guys around, but it's a good infield. I think they'll play really good defense.
And then moving on to the outfield, how deep are we in the outfield? What can we expect from, that this year from the Razorbacks?
Yep. So Kendall Diggs be the corner piece in right, corner outfield spot. After that, you got Ty Wilmsmeyer, played center field at Missouri, hit 300 last year. Probably him in center. Left field's kind of really up in the air. We'll get to see. That's where I think Jason Jones may end up. Big, strong kid. He can run well for his size. Good arm. He'll be 90-plus from the outfield and can hit. If you hit, you're going to play. If you hit, you don't sit. That's the saying. So another guy to look at, Ross Lovich from Missouri. He's another transfer guy. So they got 4 or 5 guys out there, and they need to settle on the top 3. Well, top 2. Diggs is penciled in right now. So the other 2, Wilmsmeyer's good runner in center. He's not going to be Dominic Fletcher, Benintendi, or any of those guys, but he's going to play hard, play good, and I think it'll be a good outfield. This team's going to hit. Now, will they hit 120 home runs? Who knows? Florida coming back. I think Florida's roster has 117 out of the 10 they have penciled in to start right now. So can they do that? Yes, but it's an offense that has produced where they have been before, whether it be at Arkansas or other places. Now can they produce together, hit and run, do the small things that takes to win those tight games on the road Sunday afternoon in extra innings?
And you talking about the infield and the outfield, I mean, it seems like this is the first time in a while we've talked about even questions being that big in the infield and outfield. So, how much pressure does that put on the pitching staff? When you really have to link.
And I think it's good questions, Porter, in the fact of, okay, we've got 12 guys. Now we just got to find spots for them. Who's going to be performing better right now? Is Sprague-Lott going to come out and play better than Peyton Holt. And is he going to? And that's why Peyton Holt is probably going to be penciled in as an everyday guy because of how hard he played and how well he played. And Coach Van Horn said, look, we got to find him a spot. Came up as a shortstop, played some second base last year when Stovall went down. So third bases, we got an opening right there. So we got some room right there for him. And I think it's a good question to have.
Well, and they'll get to find out pretty quick. You know, I know they got a 4-game set starting out February 16th against James Madison, and then they head to Globe Life Field where they'll play Oregon State, Oklahoma State, and Michigan. So
Yeah.
I know you're looking forward to heading down there and watching them. Now, this makes what, your third trip down there? Is this your third trip?
Yeah, it'll be my third trip. We went to Round Rock 2 years ago when it was 35, 36 degrees. And when I got the tickets last year and told Amber, I said, hey, it's indoors this time. It's going to be nice no matter what. She's like, oh, I can do that. I was like, all right, good deal. So, yeah, we're going to go down there. We got some really good seats there right behind home plate, about 9 rows up, and we'll get to take in all the action, see the kids and everything. And, you know, a lot of families, you get to know a lot of these families as you cover the team and everything. And it's a good group to be around. You know, Cody Frank is a dad now, and he's coming back. It's his 6th or 7th year. You know, I think it's his 6th year. But, you know, Will McIntyre, those guys, it's going to be a really good veteran group with the right pieces of youngsters mixed in that I think Coach Van Horn's put together a 40-man roster that has the ability, has a chance. I mean, they've been ranked top 5 no matter what polls come out so far to make a run at the end of in June and possibly dogpile it in Omaha.
And being you still develop and with a high school rank. So I know it's even more special to you seeing these guys come out of high school into the college. And even if they don't play for Arkansas, I think I love the fact that even if they don't choose your school, you still show them love no matter what school they're at. So I think that's very important to them.
Yeah, and Clayton Gray's at Austin Peay right now. He was 3rd team all-conference last year. Ethan Bates at Louisiana Tech. Those are guys that started at Arkansas and, you know, for one reason or another didn't end up there. And, you know, got some guys inside the state that have gone on to other places. You know, I had a couple at Oral Roberts last year at Blaze Brothers that from right down the road, Springdale Harbor, got to go over there and go to the College World Series and make some noise. So it's good that, you know, Arkansas baseball is as good as it's ever been. You got 78, 82 guys that signed college scholarships this last signing period. So you got guys that are going to be spread out all over the place. And even when they come to Arkansas, you know, it's good to follow them and get, you know, Cade Smith, Ty Wade, 2 big names that come out of Arkansas. Those are the only 2 in the signing class from this last signing class that was ranked number 2 by Perfect Game. The only 2 in-state kids. There's only 7 in-state kids on the 43-man roster right now. So there's a lot of kids that will come back to Arkansas and play Arkansas that just missed out on playing for the Hogs. Just wasn't the right situation, but they're having great careers and moving on.
And I don't know if you've come out with your prediction. You've been pretty spot on where Arkansas has finished for the past couple of years. If you haven't, let us know when we'll, you know, to be looking forward to that. Or if you have, be sure to share it with us.
Yeah, we Mason Choate and I talked about that yesterday. In fact, we were trying to figure out, okay, because right now you're kind of putting the preliminary things together. We get to talk to Coach Van Horn tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. That'll be his first press conference with the media prior to the first practice on Friday, which will be a scrimmage. You know, sad thing about the college baseball calendar is this is the first team activity they can do. Okay, they've had 8 hours a day where they can work individually and come in with the team and work with the coaches now that they're back at school. But that's when they really get together and really start their preseason practice on the 26th. So we'll get to meet with Coach Van Horn, get to see their first scrimmage, see how everything's worked out, make sure everybody's healthy. But we're going to release that game by game pick, and we'll get to go into detail about, okay, they'll go 2 out of 3 this series. They get to sweep this series. Everything sets up pretty well for them to, I think they'll be above 40 wins again. Everything sets up for that. It's a good schedule. You got some good teams coming in. You get Texas Tech midweek, not doubleheader, but back-to-back games, April 16th and 17th. You got a stretch right there. They're ranked 21st. You have to go to Alabama and South Carolina sandwiched in between those 2 games. So there's a stretch right there. If the Hogs are sitting to where they can be like I don't know, 30-6, 31-7 going into that stretch, that'll really tell us how the postseason may set up for them. So the week before the 16th, which be about that'd be the February 5th to the 9th. We'll drop that on hogbeat.com. You can go check us out and tell us how crazy we are or if we're not thinking high enough.
Well, yeah, because look, then the pressure's on y'all because
you got to win every game in baseball.
Basketball's going horrible. It's in baseball's hands. And I know last year we talked about the pressure being on the baseball team to get to Omaha. So look, I think of all the years they're counting on y'all. We need to go 60-0.
56-0, and then we'll talk postseason. Yep.
Well, Kevin, always great to have you on, man. Good luck to you and everything you've done for high school baseball and just the state of Arkansas. Be sure to head over to Cabo, catch him all game in depth, and then he'll be giving you game by game analyst with Mason Choate. Adam, I called you Adam.
Yeah.
Kevin, thank you, sir, for being on.
Yeah, Port, appreciate it, buddy. Anytime.
Well, that will do it for this episode of the Hog Talk podcast. Again, we will catch you on Sunday. Hopefully, we're talking about some good news when it pertains to Arkansas Razorback sports, and we'll catch you on Sunday.